Sports all plays. Whole sports all plays. Whole sports all plays. 365, we making up plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety topics living the same. All presentation, sports information. Hitting the airways, taking the nation. Sport all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. Whole sports all plays.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another rendition of the Sports Sensei. We are finally back. I know you missed us. I know you missed getting the news from the hottest ladies in the sports world right now, but we are officially back, and we promise not to leave you again. We have so many things to talk about. We're going to be talking about, of course, Kyler Murray's contract and the details of that, all the NBA trade rumors, NBA Summer League. We're also going to be talking about why OBJ hasn't found him a home yet, as well as Julio Jones signing with the Buccaneers. We're also going to be covering a lot about KD and all the new teams that are now in the trade talks. We'll be talking about that as well, the upcoming season. And we'll be talking about where we've been and what we've been doing and why we left you for so long. But before we get into that, check out this cool video that we got for you.
Yo.
Yo. We are back in this thing, the Sports Senseis. We are back. We are so happy to be back. We know that y'all missed us because we missed y'all too, but we are back providing you with all the sports news that we are ready to get into. So many things have been happening. So many things we need to talk about and cover. But before we get into that, ladies, I missed y'all. How are y'all? What is going on? What has life been like? First, I'll start with Jay because Jay, I know you've been moving and grooving and kind of doing your thing here and there. So Jay, what's popping? What's going on, my sister?
I mean, I've been like maxing and relaxing, taking it easy this summer. So while y'all been doing all the cool stuff, I'm gonna get back to the grind fall. But I was like, you know what, work my regular 9 to 5 was gonna be pretty hectic this summer, so I said I need to cool out. But I can't wait for you guys to talk about all the things you did. Sensei with Summer League. Root the Truth is on the radio. Like what? Like all these things are happening. So y'all doing big things, and yeah, all kinds of exciting stuff. So I'm living vicariously through y'all.
Yes, and without further ado, let's talk about our famous friend, our radio host every Saturday down there in Tampa. Root the Truth, what it do?
What up, ladies? I'm so happy to be back on the Sports Senseis with my favorite senseis of all sports. Yeah, thank you so much. I'm really excited about the moment of truth hitting the radio waves. My debut episode was last Saturday. If you guys didn't catch that, go to the Moment of Truth with Ruth Kakias on Facebook, like the page, and share the video. Yeah, I'm pretty excited. Just another outlet of me to get my distress out, which is just talking sports because that's what I'm good at.
Yeah, and we heard that you might have a special guest next week.
Oh, yes. Very special guest. Alana Trapp is going to be joining me on the radio waves on 102.1 FM, 1150 AM HD. She will be joining me. If you guys are not in the Tampa area, which I'm sure a majority of you are not, no worries. You could travel to the AM 1150 WTMP.com and you can catch the show live from 2 to 3 Eastern Standard Time, whatever time that might be for your time zone. Make sure to join us this Saturday because we're going to cover all things NBA because there's been a lot going on that we're obviously going to unveil a lot of that tonight on the Sports Senseis because they deserve it. ASAP Network has missed us for quite some time, but we're back.
Real quick too, while we're on your radio show, in case you don't have access to the website or you're on the go, there is an app because I did download the app. It's the 1150 WTMP app. I wanted to make sure I looked down because I wanted to make sure I said it right. But
Appreciate that.
that is the app that is available on as well. So make sure y'all check out all the things that Ruth the Truth is doing, because Ruth is the truth. Y'all know that. She's gonna bring the fire. She's gonna bring the spunk. So make sure y'all support my good sis in that. But without further ado, ladies, let's get into these topics. So much to talk about. So much that we missed. I know we kind of went over some of the topics that we want to talk about, but I want to throw this out there, and I meant to run this by you, but we'll just kind of let it flow a little bit. I want to talk about the Brittany Griner situation really quick before we get into everything else that's going on, because that is still something that is ongoing. And as women, I feel like we need to, since we have this platform, we need to cover that situation and show her all the support, because she needs all the support that she can get. Now, I'm gonna start with you, Jay. What has been, because I don't think we've covered it a whole lot. I know we've mentioned it a couple times, but what are your thoughts on the entire situation, and what do you think would be a sensible resolution for this situation? This is going to be a 3-part question. So the sensible resolution for this situation, and not only that, what is something that as Americans or as people that are in the sports world that we can learn from something like this?
Dude, this story has been like ongoing and so crazy. And to hear that they have like a 99% conviction rate and what's going, I mean, there's so much different stuff out there, right? I'm just trying to like stay and follow it, you know? Are we at the point where like, hey, President Biden, Vice President Kamala, you know, Harris, can you get involved? Like, I just am like I said, I'm just hearing so many different things, and I just can't believe this happened. She goes there all the time, plays overseas, and I'm like, how is she not out yet? You know, or is Free Britney, her wife? Didn't her wife go on? Was it not?
I think it was
Morning America.
Yeah.
You know, everybody's been writing. I feel like it's picking up more traction. I mean, when it started, it was kind of like you were hearing chatters, but nothing, you know what I mean? And now it's like picking up more and more traction. So I just hope that they can get her home as soon as possible. I hope that as this escalates more, you know, like I said, it's getting more and more traction and things happen for it and it starts to move fastly. But I just, man, I couldn't even believe that happened to her and that she's still there this long and this has not been resolved. So when things like this happen, you know, you're like, I don't know. To be honest, I'm really at just a loss for words. Really, you know, I just hope they can get it resolved as soon as they can, as soon as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. To follow what Jay said about it being a really long time, we're talking about February, ladies and gentlemen. She has been in captivity in this other country since February, and I do not feel as if President Biden has done enough. Now, Brittany obviously isn't trying to take the alleyway of saying that she did not commit these crimes. She's admitting to having this cannabis, these vapes in her luggage, but her defense team is using the argument that she uses cannabis as a painkiller, which is what a lot of Americans use cannabis for. I mean, there's a lot of people that have their medical cards that are dealing with all sorts of diseases that the medical cannabis helps them with that. So I think it's a very strong argument. I think it's a great defense, but it is just a really scary situation that Brittany Griner has been there for this long, and they're pushing for the full penalty of up to 10 years in captivity in Russia. So I definitely feel for her. At first, I was almost kind of upset with her for putting herself in that situation, knowing that Russia is just so strict with their laws. I mean, you're not on American soil. There's not much that we can do when, you know, Russia has their own laws in place. Their law enforcement has their own regulations of how they deal with things. And I just feel like Brittany could have been a little more ahead of the game when it came to that. But it is what it is. She is in the position that she is. And I just feel like American people, you know, athletes should continue to be to be very vocal about the situation that's going on with Brittany, because she must feel so alone. Like, just imagine, she's probably in captivity with a lot of people that do not speak her language. As far as I know, that she's in, what do they call it? Solitary confinement, when you're by yourself a lot of the time. So I cannot imagine what this is doing to her mental as well. But we got to remember, she's a 2-time Olympian. She is a WNBA star for the Phoenix Mercury. So President Biden, whatever you have to do to get this girl back so she does not have to stay in a Russian prison for 10 years.
Yeah, agreed. I think for me, when I first heard the situation, it was more so of I think it just was bad timing because at the time, there was the war going on, so it was like there was a lot that, and they were looking for something to make an example out of, and it's unfortunately that Brittany Griner got caught in the crossfire.
Yeah.
What I want people to also understand is that they're treating her like she's El Chapo, like she was out here just moving with a bag full of like pounds of weed, like she was trying to be a distributor, and that's not the case. Now, granted, I'm not going to make an excuse and say that she didn't break the law because I'm sure, being that she's gone to Russia so many times, she has to know that they have certain rules and regulations that we don't have over here in America. Now, also, if we want to make it an even bigger issue, is we have to look at the fact of why she has to go over there every year because she's not making enough money to take care of and provide for herself and for her family in the United States in her professional sports because for whatever reason, they're still fighting an uphill battle of trying to make more money in the WNBA right now. So that's also an issue. Like there's so many different ways and so many different avenues that we can attack this because there's so many wrongdoings as it pertains to this situation and why she would be in that situation in the first place. Now, I do think that Russia is trying to make an example out of her, unfortunately, because she is an American, she is gay, she is, black, like unfortunately. So it's like it's just one of those things where it's just like she has so many knocks in their eyes against her already. So it wouldn't have mattered if she had a pinch of cannabis. The fact that that's an illegal thing in their particular country, they were gonna throw the book at her anyway. And I just feel like it's really unfortunate. But I also feel like it took way too long for it to become a more public thing where a lot of people are starting to speak out more, which I kind of get because I guess that was like the thing was they didn't want to make it too big to where she would be pretty much a pawn for Russia. So I get it, but at the same time, I feel like if she was a LeBron James or a Kevin Durant, like she would have been out the next day and she would have been home. You know what I'm saying? So it's like we've got to.
You bring up a valid point with that
Yeah,
because
yeah. I mean, to think about it, like for instance, what I always reference is think about the situation with LiAngelo Ball when they were overseas and he stole the sunglasses. He was out in like 2 days.
yeah,
And back home, and he was good. Just off of the strength because they made it such a point to get him home, and I just don't feel like that same kind of energy is being applied for Brittany Griner, unfortunately. So it's like we've got to start. We can't be preaching. We can't preach equality for show. And I feel like a lot of times as a country, especially for men's leagues, everything's for show. They'll wear the orange hoodies. They'll rock the jersey every now and again. They'll pop in and out a couple of WNBA games, but you're not on the front lines preaching equality as far as equal pay. You're not on the front lines, saying like, let's get these ladies more endorsements or what can we do to make these conditions for these professional athletes better. You're not doing that. You know what I'm saying? And then it's not until something happens and everybody wants to do a rally cry and be politically correct and, we have to bring her home and this is injustice. WNBA players have been having injustices. This is just a different instance because the law is involved, but it's still an injustice nonetheless. So like, let's stop just speaking about equality and let's actually put some action behind those words. If this situation doesn't wake everybody up, I don't know what will.
Yeah. And unfortunately for Brittany, she is going to be made as an example because Russia's kind of using her as a pawn right now. From what I read into, they're looking for a prisoner that we have on American soil to be returned to Russia, and they're trying to use that as a pawn to have Brittany be returned. And there's just the legalities of the situation are just really sketchy and really scary. But I pray for the future for Brittany Griner because she needs to be back in the WNBA. I mean, she was going to play in the All-Star game. I mean, her teammates rely on her so much. I mean, I know that it's putting a lot of stress on the Phoenix Mercury to be specific. I mean, we already see Diana Taurasi just looking defeated on the sidelines, and she's questioning maybe retiring early. So there's a lot of things happening, a lot of things unfolding for the WNBA. But as I always try to say, women bring just as good of a quality as basketball as the NBA. So people need to wake up on what they got going on over there. And they are starting to fill up the stadiums more and more. So I'm glad to see it. We're on a great trajectory, but a return of Brittany Griner is the ultimate goal.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So definitely free Brittany Griner. I wanted to bring that up because I feel like there's not going to be enough awareness. I think everybody should speak up and say free grounders. But yeah, definitely praying for her and her family in a safe return.
And the Commissioner's Cup is being played tonight, correct? So more WNBA news. We have the Chicago Sky hosting the Las Vegas Aces. So those are two top tier teams in the WNBA. So make sure to tune in. I'm not 100% sure what time the game starts on Eastern Standard Time, but I can imagine it'll be around 8:00. So make sure to tune into the Commissioner Cup tonight.
I got the Aces winning the championship this year, so I need them to win this.
You got Aces winning? Well,
I got the Aces winning.
They're going up against the defending champs right now against the Chicago Sky, and Candace Parker is looking like she has made the day.
Spring water,
like spring chicken over there.
I'm like, yo, what's she be? What's in her Gatorade bottle? We need to investigate what's in there. You ain't supposed to be moving like that at that age. Candace, what's going on? Not just playing, but no, definitely check, support the WNBA and watch that game. And also, if you want to keep supporting the WNBA, make sure you check out Beyond the Rim with myself, Mike Hughes, as well as Megan Price, because we will be covering the highlights from the Commissioner's Cup tomorrow. So make sure you check that out. But moving right along.
Moving along.
So ladies, what do we want? What route we want to go first? Do we want to go NFL? Or do we want to go NBA?
I think we should continue on the basketball track, but that's just on me. I mean, I might be repping a jersey today that has to do with some of our conversation that we will be having. So
yes, honestly, Ruth, I think you're right, and I think I want to get into that because I feel like you have a special message for this topic that I'm about to present. So what I'm gonna just go ahead and set it up, and then I'm gonna just let you rip. So there's a conversation the other day sparked by one Draymond Green, which really quick before we get into what he says, shout out to him and his podcast. I really enjoy his podcast. If you've never watched the episode or checked it out, you should. He's actually really good, very insightful. I like his opinions and the way that he is pushing the narrative as far as getting the media side of things back to the integrity part of it. So like if you're into that, definitely check that out. But he was on Twitter and he was saying that he was watching the 98 Bulls series when they played against the Utah Jazz. And he sat there and watched, and he thought about his team in 2017, which featured one Kevin Durant, which we'll be talking about soon enough. And he says that he feels like that 2017 team would have beat that 98 Bulls team, which of course sparked a bunch of controvery and a bunch of conversation, things of that nature. So
is he just trying to stir things up in the locker room, talking about his coach like that? Like
maybe, I don't know, but I Ruth, the truth, the reason I wanted to start with this and bring you on first is because you're wearing a jersey today. If you could show the people. Okay. So we got a mindset. So after that, I was gonna Ruth, the truth, just go ahead. What do you think?
Shout out to the jersey store. Yeah, shout out to the jersey store in Chicago. I was in Chicago late June. And they had these jerseys, these like crazy colored neon jerseys that were on sale, and they were all authenticated. So I was like, I'm definitely gonna grab one, 50% off. I mean, but I did find out that they are. I asked them, I was like, where are all the like Michael Jordan jerseys at? And she was like, oh, we keep those in the back, and they're running for about $450 right now. And I'm like, isn't that insane that this man has been retired for 2 decades and his jerseys are still going for $400? Like that's pretty incredible. And I asked her if she had any Kobe's back there, and she did, and those were running for about $300. So that's pretty intense with how the legacies of these players will continue on regardless if they're here on earth or not. And it was just crazy to see. But going back to our conversation about can the 98 Bulls defeat the 2017 Golden State Warriors, who I believe won 72 games that year, and the 98 Bulls went 62-20. So they did have a really great regular season. But I mean, let's just rattle off some names here of who is actually on the 98 Bulls. We got Steve Kerr, obviously, Michael Jordan. We have Tony Kukoc, who we saw do great things with that, with his opportunity to play alongside Jordan. We got Scottie Pippen. We got Dennis Rodman. Like those are some Hall of Famer names that I just rattled off there. So to compare them to the 2017 Golden State Warriors would be an insult to the legacy of the Chicago Bulls. So different eras of basketball. So I don't really know how to answer that question because I mean, the things that they get away with, or the things that they did get away with in the NBA when it came to fouling and the way their style of play is not how they play nowadays. So, I mean, did they have as many free throws go up as they do in the league now? Definitely not. So it would just be totally different errors. But just for shits and giggles, I'm gonna say the Golden State Warriors would put away the '98 Chicago Bulls with Kevin Durant. With Kevin Durant, a sharpshooter, I mean, they didn't have styles of tall guys playing in the way that Kevin Durant performs. And I mean, we saw them put away LeBron. So I mean, don't we put Michael Jordan in the same conversation as LeBron James day in and day out? So if I had to choose, I would say the Golden State Warriors, just because Kevin Durant. That's basically the biggest factor.
Talk about change of direction. Talk about
surprise, y'all. You know,
in the road. I am speechless right now. Go ahead, Jay. I don't even know what to say right now. I am scratched.
These conversations are always so hard because, as Ruth just said, the different styles of play. This is why I feel like even in the GOAT conversation, it's like, can we talk about this era of, basketball, the 80s, the 90s? Like, this is the GOAT of this era. Like, that's how I feel about it, because it is completely different. And you're looking at it like, me and Sensei, we from the Shy, so like, how could we dare go against Chicago? I mean, I grew up watching Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen, and I'm a Scottie girl, not a Michael girl. I've been a Scottie girl, but man, like, wouldn't this be something to see? If only we could really put these teams together. I gotta ride with Chicago. I just do, but like, I'm not gonna lie, Steph Curry shooting and KD like scares me, because I'm like, all right, so who's gonna? However, I feel like, hey, if we put Jordan on KD, he could lock him down. I mean, I'm sorry, Jordan on Curry, he could lock him down. We put Scottie on Kevin, but is that enough? The length, the height, the shoot. Like, I'm literally looking at the lineup right now, going, who could we put?
I'm just saying, if we put Jordan on Curry, you already know that Curry's putting up 18 free throws that whole game, because Michael's going to be completely smothering him. And the way that we watch the NBA now, like, that's not a factor. We can't play like that. You can't tackle people in the NBA these days. You just can't.
Maybe with the 17 Warriors are playing back the way that the league was in '98. No, we shift those rules. And
no, they would crumble. They would crumble. They would not. It would be Chicago all day. If they're playing in that era, I would say that the Chicago Bulls would just completely dismantle Kevin Durant. Both of his Achilles in the same time. Like, Klay Thompson wouldn't be able to keep his ACLs in check. I think it would be a bad look if they were to go back in time to play in that day.
Listen, I don't even know what I am.
We need to talk about what era of basketball they would be in, and this is how we could better compare.
Right, like, who's going in the time capsule? Are the Chicago Bulls coming here, or the Golden State Warriors going there? Like, we gotta leave the question.
That's how we have to compare this. That's how we have to compare this.
Let us know what you think, Sensei. I'm dying to hear it.
I don't even understand what I'm. Listen, it doesn't matter if the Bulls come in this era or the Warriors go in that era. It's the '98 Bulls, period. Because think of it like this: if the '98 Bulls come into this era and have the same rules, like the no hand checking, Jordan is going off for 80. Like, he's going because you can't be physical with him. So he was like a physical free, like, as far as his athletic ability, he was out of this world. And this was during the time frame of hand checking, where you could, like Jay said, where you could damn near tackle people, where you could, put people, you could throw them on the ground and they'd be like, oh, this normal foul. It would be a flagrant. So you got to think about that. Like, so who's gonna be guarding Jordan? I hope you don't say Draymond, because it's gonna get ugly real fast. Like, because Jordan ain't your average. He's not an average player. Like, Jordan he's not a Luka Doncic. He's not a all the.
I think I would put Klay. I think I would put Klay on Jordan. I think Klay Thompson's a really good defender.
He is, but against Jordan, he's food. He's barbecue chicken. He's vegetables. He's mashed potatoes, macaroni and cheese, collard greens. Like, he is food.
Damn,
like,
you're making me hungry.
I know, right? you gotta think like we are talking about wherever you rank him, one of the greatest players of all time. Where it's 1, 2, it don't even matter. I'm not even gonna get into that. But wherever this is the top 3 player like of all time. You just said you went to a jersey store with his jersey is still $450, and he's not even played over 20-something years. Like
That's intense.
you're gonna put Klay Thompson on that guy? Like, huh? and then, honestly, the thing with this is too like Scottie Pippen will probably end up going KD, right? Now he's not gonna be able to quote unquote stop KD because KD at the end of the day has still got probably like some inches on Scottie at least. Mm-hmm. So he's gonna be able to get over, like shoot over Scottie Pippen. Like he's gonna be able to still get his points. But the thing of it is, what's gonna make the difference is he's not gonna be able to get into the lane because if he passes Scottie, you got to deal with Dennis Rodman. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it's really hard to compare the two just because the eras and the rules and the things of that nature are so different. But I'm just saying, I think that the 98 Bulls don't get enough credit for like how versatile they were, like their versatile play was. Like, yes, the 90s obviously was more physical, but still, they were more of a finesse team. Like now they can get physical. Like so they were very capable of getting physical, as we've all seen. But at the same time, like this Michael Jordan introduced the finesse in the NBA at that point. Mm. So they would be able to play in this era too. And especially, like I said, with the rules without being able to be hand checked, that's like, could you imagine Michael Jordan with these set of rules? Could you imagine how dangerous that man would be with these set of rules? Like, this was a guy who was out here dropping 50, 60, 70 points with hand checking. Like, where you could get knocked out, where people could grab your jersey, where people could clothesline you, where people could throw you to the ground and pretty much tackle you. Like, but he was still doing what he was doing with all of that. So imagine if you take all of that away and give them an opportunity and just say, hey, do what you do. Like, what? Who on the Warriors is going to be able to stop that? Mm. So I do get what you guys are saying as far as like, the 2017 Warriors, because that's one of the most unstoppable teams. But I'll say this, like, do you think that team could have beat the 2000 Lakers?
It's difficult. It's real difficult to compare.
That's why it's like these conversations be real dumb, because it's like how can you what's the like? Because what are we comparing it on? You know what I'm saying? Like, what? There's two completely different areas. Like, what are we comparing it on? Like, the offenses are different, defenses are different, schemes are different. Coaching style is different. This era is more of a spread the floor era. That era was more dominate inside. So it's like, because it's kind of like boxing. Styles make fights. Styles would make, matchups as far as those two eras. So it's like, what are we basing this off of? You know what I'm saying? Right. So I don't know. That's just me, but I just feel like that was an interesting conversation.
So a really important player in the 2017 Golden State Warriors and Kevin Durant is gonna be on the move, from what it sounds like, from the Brooklyn Nets after he demanded a trade in early June. Now, there's been a lot of trade talks with different teams, but it seems like the Nets are being very particular of what they want for a trade package for the superstar Kevin Durant, which obviously makes a lot of sense. But this week, another team has come to the table with some interest with Kevin Durant. It's going to be the Boston Celtics, who just lost to the Golden State Warriors in the NBA Finals this year. Now, there were some rumors that Jaylen Brown could be included in a package for Kevin Durant. Now, it seems like, from what I've read about, that the Brooklyn Nets have already declined that offer of Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, and multiple draft picks, which I think might have been a pretty good package for the Nets. But in all honesty, I really don't even think they want to move Kevin Durant. But I will go with you first, Sensei. Do you think Jaylen Brown should feel some type of way that his name got thrown around in a discussion to get Kevin Durant?
I think he already does, because from what I saw on social media, he simply tweeted out an SMH. So I feel like he already starts to feel the way, which you can understand, because think of it like this. If I'm a player of a Jaylen Brown caliber, and, I just had the playoff series that I just had, against All teams, not even just the Warriors, but against all teams. Because a lot of times in those finals games, he looks better than Jason Tatum. So if I'm Jaylen Brown, hell yeah, I'm gonna feel some type of way because, like, did you just see what I just did against one of the top teams ever? Like, you know what I'm saying? Not only that, but the defense that I was holding on the guy that you were about to trade me for. Like, you know what I'm saying? Did you see how I played against him? Did you guys watch that? Did you guys miss that memo? So hell yeah, I feel some type of way. But also, this is why I always side with the players when they decide their fate, because the game is the game. If they feel like they can go get a caliber of a Kevin Durant, I'm sorry, baby, but you're gonna get traded. Like, I'm so sorry. Like, now allow this to motivate you for you to be, you know, a perennial all-star and you know, allow it to better yourself and motivate you to better your game. But at the end of the day, yeah, you got to expect that. Like, if a Kevin Durant, which this is not something that comes up all the time where you can get a once in a lifetime player like a KD. So as the GM, the front office, listen, love you, but we got to get you out of here. Like, if we're able to make it happen, then again, the game is the game. It's unfair. It's not right, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I think with Brad Stevens filling in the front office, I think he's done an excellent job with trying to stack up that roster. And if you have the opportunity to get a superstar like Kevin Durant, you're going to throw as much as you can into that to actually have a legitimate chance in that trade. But Jay, I'm gonna throw this to you. Do you think Kevin Durant would be the answer for the Golden Celtics to get over the hump?
Okay, I'm gonna take out my bias of like completely hating Kevin Durant. You lose Marcus Smart and you lose Jaylen Brown and you put Kevin Durant in, right? And KD is KD. Could this get them over the hump, like beat the Golden State Warriors? I definitely think the series is going 7, and could they edge them out a little bit? But then again, I'm like, hold on though, because you lose Marcus Smart and you lose Jaylen. Jaylen Brown averaged more points, more rebounds than Tatum. Why isn't Tatum on the list? Why aren't we like, let's give Tatum and Marcus Smart? Because if that's really, but then you're like, okay, well, here it's a compliment, Jaylen. You're so good that we could give you a Marcus Smart to even equate to a Kevin Durant. I mean, they definitely would be going back to the NBA Finals. That could mesh. I think they give Golden State a run for their money. Are they hands down for sure winning the championship? I will not say that. I won't go that far because I still needed Kevin Durant to not get swept by the Boston Celtics in this series. Give me one game. Like, if you the man and who you are, y'all should have at least walked away with. I mean, I think it just puts them, to be honest, right where they are, especially right where they just landed, especially if they're going against the Golden State Warriors. I don't know if that's enough. I don't know if KD is the difference to be like, man, we for sure had him in that championship, we would have for sure won. I feel like it would still be just as really close. Hey, go 7 games. I don't know. Do Golden State feel like, hey, we know KD, we played with him, we know all his stuff, we're gonna figure out a way to stop him? You got the coach, you know, you got Kerr. Like, I don't know. But I think Jaylen Brown definitely should be offended. I think if he's really like, how come y'all didn't put Tatum in this? Because again, I have more points, more rebounds, whatever. It's like, hey, look, you're at this caliber. But I don't know. I overall, I think it could put them right where they were, to be honest. If they're going to get Golden State. Now, if they're going to get somebody else in the West, I think, yeah, we could definitely have a championship. But if they're going against Golden State, I think they're still right where they are.
It's championship or bust for the Boston Celtics. They got so close. And as Grant Williams for the Celtics like to say, that the Celtics were the better team at the end of the day. They just weren't as disciplined as the Golden State Warriors. Who has discipline? Kevin Durant. If you bring a caliber player like Kevin Durant on a roster paired up with Jason Tatum, I think they have a legitimate chance in the NBA Finals to actually hoist the trophy. So I think it would be a great move for the Boston Celtics to obtain Kevin Durant. Do I think it's a possibility? I still think the Nets are going to want too much from the Celtics for them to trade off Kevin Durant. So I don't think the trade's going to happen. I think at the end of the day, KD is going to be stuck with the Brooklyn Nets, probably not for the next 4 years, like his contract plays out, but I think he's going to be starting week 1 for the Brooklyn Nets. That's my point of view on it. I just think it's going to be the Nets are going to expect too much from any team that wants to get into a trade conversation. And I think some of the teams out there in the league are a little turned off with how things kind of imploded in the Brooklyn Nets organization. Just, I mean, you had James Harden, you had Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, and you guys got swept in the first round by the Boston Celtics. Like, not a good look. I just think as the days go on, the market dries up for Kyrie Irving even leaving the Brooklyn Nets. So in my point of view, I think KD and Kyrie are stuck in Brooklyn.
Yeah, I think I think both of those guys will start off in Brooklyn for the start of the NBA season. But I do think eventually at some point there will be a major shift in the Brooklyn Nets, because one thing as a franchise I feel like you don't want to do is have, especially two knowingly disgruntled superstars, because no matter how you try to cover up and try to put a Band-Aid on it, eventually it's gonna rip off. And then once it rips off, that's when it's gonna get ugly. And I don't think the Brooklyn Nets want that, because it's already clustered, it's already a mess, it's already discombobulated, it's already just doesn't make any sense. And so I don't think they want to prolong that any longer. So I think what's going to end up happening is Brooklyn is going to have to step down their demands a bit, because Kevin Durant does not. He's made it clear he doesn't want to be in Brooklyn anymore. If he wanted to stay in Brooklyn and was committed to it, I don't think the whole him wanting to be traded news would have came out. But the fact that he was willing enough to put it out there where he knew it was going to hit the airway, like he's made that situation extremely uncomfortable. So they don't, as franchise owners, they don't want to go through a year of uncomfortability, of uncertainty, of him knowing that, at some point, like he's eyeing other places, like he wants to do other things. So they might not get traded by the beginning of the season, but I think eventually that they're going to make some changes, because it's going to get to a point where it's going to come very soap opera like, and I don't think that the Brooklyn Nets really want that.
Do you think KD wants to leave the Nets because he no longer wants to team up with his best friend in Kyrie Irving? Do you think that could be an issue and a reason why KD has demanded the trade? Because as far as I know, I thought Kyrie was on the move. There was rumors of him getting traded, and then a report came out that the Brooklyn Nets were going to sign him for another season and he was going to stay in the Nets. And then a couple days later, KD comes out and surfaces that he's demanding a trade. So do you think he's just trying to get away from Kyrie? What do you think, Sensei?
I think that's a part of it. I won't say that's the main issue. I think that there's a lot of underlying things that maybe we as media people don't know. But I do think that Kyrie is definitely a part of it, because I don't think Kevin Durant realized what constitutes dealing with a Kyrie Irving. Like, Kyrie's not your, I'm a fan of Kyrie's game, but Kyrie's not your typical person. Like, he's not committed to anybody but himself. Like, Kyrie's committed to Kyrie. And I think that Kevin thought that being that they're best friends, that they had the same level of commitment to basketball. And once he realized that was not the case, I think it was like, wait a minute, like I might need to reassess this, because here I am dedicating my time, and here I am dedicating my everything to basketball. Like, all I want to do is play basketball and go home. Like, that's it. And I'm thinking the guy that's supposed to be my Robin is on the same type of time as me, but then it becomes clear from a couple of different instances that that's not the case. Like I said, Kyrie cares about Kyrie. Kyrie is concerned with Kyrie. Anything else other than that doesn't penetrate. So I think once Kevin realized that, it was like, oh, wait a minute, I might need to, start exhausting other options, because he's 30, he's going on 34. The window is going to start to close at some point. And he wants to win championships. He wants to be at that table with Steph and Bron and Kobe and Jordan. Like, he wants to be at that table, because it's only a certain handful of people that got more than 3 rings in the NBA ever. And those are those guys. So, and he knows that to be considered in that conversation, he's got to win a couple more championships, especially now, even more so that Steph just won his 4th. He for sure is like, oh no, I can't have that. So I definitely think that's a part of it, but I don't think that's the main thing. I think there's a lot of things that factor into it, but I think that's definitely a big piece of the pie as to why he wants to get out of Brooklyn.
Yeah. A lot of moving parts. I think Rudy Gobert's trade from the Utah Jazz to the Timberwolves just reset the market. And as everybody looked in on all the what was it, 3 first-round draft picks and then 2 other players addition to that package. I just think that the Nets think that if Rudy Gobert can get that type of contract, can get that type of trade, then, Kevin Durant should be on a whole nother elite level. So I think at the end of the day, the Nets are just going to ask for too much, and that's what's going to be the demise of it's going to dissolve this whole Kevin Durant being traded from the Brooklyn Nets. I think he has a 4-year contract in place. Like, he's going to be stuck with the Nets until January, until we'll see what happens with the trades that go on, mid-season. But let's switch gears now and talk a little NFL, because we have about 20 more minutes that we're going to be live here on the Sports Senseis. We appreciate you watching and tuning in on the ASAP Network. But let's talk some NFL football, because training camp is going on this week and NFL season is among us. Just shortly, we're going to be time is going to fly. We're going to be in preseason before you know it. So in major news here in Tampa, Florida, that I will announce, Julio Jones has exited the market by signing with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with a 1-year deal. Now, Tom Brady has a plethora of weapons now. We have Chris Godwin, who we're not really sure when he's going to be playing, but there is talks that he's going to be available week 1 of the regular season. We got Russell Gage, who we took from Atlanta. And even though Julio Jones did not play for Atlanta last season, he's still a Falcon at the end of the day, where he spent most of his career. And like people are saying, if you can't beat him, join him. So maybe Julio Jones is knowing that Tom Brady beat him in the Super Bowl. Everybody knows how Matty Ice kind of dropped the ball on that. So I think this is an opportunity for Julio Jones to be in the Super Bowl conversation. And with Mike Evans as well, I mean, yes, we had our tight end, Rob Gronkowski, retire, but who knows? He could be making a comeback. We signed Kyle Rudolph, another tight end who played for the Giants last year, but spent most of his season in Minnesota with the Vikings. There's a lot that Tom Brady can give the ball off to, and the Buccaneers had the most passing attempts in the league last season. So Brady wants more options to throw the ball to. So do you think Julio Jones is going to help the Buccaneers get into at least deep into the playoffs?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like, especially playing with Tom Brady. Like, granted, he played with Matt Ryan, but Matt Ryan ain't Tom Brady. That's where it get different. And I'm sorry, like, playing with Tom Brady, he's gonna be on a different type of time. He's gonna look, because I don't think Julio's washed up. Like, I don't think that he's falling off the cliff. I just think that him going to the Titans wasn't really the right situation for him, considering the fact that they don't have a great quarterback. Like, the quarterback is not going to maximize what makes Julio, like what makes him great, what makes him such a generational talent. So yeah, him playing with Tom Brady is good. That's what them for sure. They put them on. It's gonna at least put them in the conversation of potential Super Bowl teams. You know what I'm saying? I don't know now. Anything can happen. So we don't know about the injuries and things of that nature. But as on paper, they look like a Super Bowl contending team, especially with Julio. Like, I'm excited to see Tom Brady with Julio there, because that's gonna be fun.
Jay, what do you think?
Yeah. No, I'm excited too. I mean, Tom Brady can throw to anybody, but you give him these elite weapons. You give him a Julio Jones, who we were like, Tennessee. But again, you're getting passes from Ryan Tannehill, so that's nothing. You went down from Matt. So I'm excited. I'm like, let's go, let's win now, right? This is what we're doing. We're like, hey, we were just inches away of making it to the Super Bowl last season. Tom Brady's back. Let's put the weapons together. I think this is going to be great for Julio Jones. I think it's still going to show all his athleticism and what he can do. I mean, he's 33 years old, which I know in football years, but I think he still has signs of life left in him. And I think he's like, let's go, Bucks. Let's win right now. Let's do it. Let's get this 1 year. Let's get this Super Bowl ring. I'm glad to see it. I'm excited for him.
Yeah, absolutely. Great addition to the wide receiver room for the Buccaneers. But in my perspective, I don't think the Buccaneers are expecting Julio to be a top tier receiver. And I don't think they really want him to be. They just need him to be healthy and to be available. That is the most important thing. I mean, we already have Mike Evans. Russell Gage is going to make an instant impact for the Buccaneers as well. So I don't think the bar is going to be set too high for Julio Jones, and he might not even have the most playing time in that wide receiver room. So great addition for the Buccaneers. But if he could stay healthy, he will make a great impact, but they're not going to expect too much from Julio, who people have been saying is washed up because he's been dealing with so many injuries throughout these last couple seasons, and he kind of just laid flat when being thrown by Ryan Tannehill. So a lot of great pieces that the Buccaneers are putting together, but the more weapons, the better, because Brady's just going to want to keep slinging that pigskin. So, yeah, we're really excited for training camp. That's officially starting for the Buccaneers tomorrow, late into the week, over the weekend, and all of next week as well. Hopefully, I will be approved as a credential member. It still says pending on the website, so just waiting on that, because I would just love to keep bringing you guys more Bucs news, because there's a lot going on in Tampa, because this could possibly be Brady's last season. So a lot of national media buzz going around the Buccaneers. But let's talk a little bit about some other news that has sprung up today by Kyler Murray, who just got a great extension from the Arizona Cardinals worth $230.5 million with $160 guaranteed. Some of the intricate details of his contract has been exposed, and I want to know what you ladies think about it. So in Kyler Murray's contract, it's stating that there could be a way for him to, what was the word they were using? There are just some particular aspects of this contract that Kyler needs to stay on top of. 4 hours of mandatory studying of film of each week. Now, do you think that could be a sign that the team doesn't feel as if Kyler Murray practices his craft or pays attention to his craft as much as he should? How do you think the media is taking these new details of the contract? Sensei, what about you?
Oh, the thing of it is the contracts now, people in the media just got to get over it. Like, the contracts are going to be what the contracts are going to be. Like, this is a new era. This is a new wave. And I don't think a contract should dictate a person's dedication, or that we should be questioning their character just because, like, if a team is going to offer you the kind of money that they offer Kyler Murray, I think a lot of us will be hell-bent on being like, well, nah, because my character, and I don't want them to think my dedication. Man, I'm sorry. Where I sign at? You want me to sign twice? Should I sign at the top and the bottom? Should you want me to sign on the other papers? Like, I mean, what are we? You know what I'm saying? Like, what are we really talking about here? Like, and this is what I mean about the integrity of media. Like, it's getting to the point where it's like, are we TMZ or are we like, you know what I'm saying? Because it's like, we're not even really reporting on the facts. Like, let that young man get his money. Now, what I will say is this, he's going to have a full season of being the Kyler Murray that he is at the beginning of the season. Because with the last couple of years, it's been kind of a repetitive theme of the first 6, 7, 8 games, he's looking like an MVP. He's looking elite. The Cardinals are looking like they Super Bowl bound. But then those last few games, for whatever reason, he starts to look like Mitchell Trubisky. And it's like, my boy, what happened? Like, you know what I'm saying? So he has to, now that you got the money, now that you got what you wanted, you got to live up to that. We got to see it. Because then at that point, we can question your character. We can question your dedication, because your play is not going to be the same as your pay. So, you know what I'm saying? You gotta show and prove. You gotta show up. If this is the money, if they're dedicating they're pretty much putting the keys in your lap and saying, you're driving the car, and we're gonna follow as you go, we go. So, you know what I'm saying? You gotta pay what you weigh, my boy. But at the same time, get your money.
Should we not automatically assume that as NFL quarterbacks, you should be at least watching 4 hours of film each week? Does that to me seem a little too not enough, or like?
Oh, for sure, agree.
But I'm like, but we have to actually stipulate that in your contract to make sure you do that. I mean, it's like they're believing in the him he could be, right? It's like to this point, you have not proven yourself. Your record is your record is 22, 23, and 1. But we believe in you enough that you are our guy, and we don't see any other quarterback coming in. So we're paying you for what we think you can do, what we think you become. We think you start off these last 2 seasons great, and we know that you can finish it. This is it. This next season, you really are going to finish strong. You're going to do it, right? Like, We're paying you for what we think you can do. But that does seem kind of odd that they have to actually stipulate that in his contract specifically, when you would think that'd be a go-to. Hey, you're studying your craft. You're the quarterback of this team. You're the leader of this team. Everything rests on your shoulders. And because we believe in you so much, we decided to pay you all this money. So I guess they're like, let me just make sure in the fine print, like, know that we decided to pay you all this money, but we need you to do this for sure, at least. I don't know. That seems like, I don't know. It just seems kind of crazy to me. But, good luck, Kyler Murray. I hope you live up to the hype.
I think it's unnecessary to have this come out to the media. I mean, if this is truly a real thing, like, do you really have to put those details out there? Does Kyler Murray not feel some type of way that now that's going to be like the topic of conversation in today's media buzz when it comes to his contract? I mean, and it kind of makes the Arizona Cardinals look foolish, because it's like, you gave all this money to this man that you got to tell him like he's a child to make sure that he's doing his studying. Like, that's just, it's really questionable on both sides when it comes to Kyler Murray and the organization. It makes them both look really kind of stupid. And just like, what are you guys doing right now? So I just really think it's something that they should have kept under wraps. Maybe if Kyler would have, because did Kyler even read the details of this contract before he just signed? I mean, I am at fault for doing that all the time, where I'm just agree, and I'm not even reading the fine print.
Yeah, that's a good point.
iPhone, every time I have to do an update, I'm not scrolling through all that and reading it. I'm just pressing agree. I mean, and I always think back to that episode of South Park with the human centipede or whatever, and it just kind of freaks me out because I don't know what I'm agreeing to. But if Kyler would have saw that in his contract, I would have feel like he could have brought that to the organization, like, hey, can we do that, like, under the table type of like have a separate contract for that, like, real, because it's going to be in the public eye when once a contract of that magnitude. People are Googling that stuff. People want to know the details of why you're getting the money that you're getting. So that is just something that they just should have, kind of, Kyler, like, we're going to give you this money, but we're going to have this conversation back here. Like, just keep that under wraps, because it just makes both sides look a little schemish.
You know what I think that is for the team? I think it's insurance. I think it's insurance for these are the stipulations of the contract. This is what he has to do. This is what we put in there. So the moment that he doesn't do it, or they decide to trade him, because you know what happens when you trade a quote unquote generational talent, or you trade a guy that you paid a bunch of money. The first thing we as fans or we as media says is, well, you paid him all that money just to trade him. You paid all that money just to the woo-woo, or why would you pay him all that money and this and this? So now they're putting out the contract details. So just in case it doesn't work, they can say, well, hey, it was in the contract and he didn't do what was in the contract. Whether that's the case or not, they can always piggyback off of that, because it's like, you guys know the contract details. Something in the contract wasn't met. I feel like now, because a lot, what I'm saying, it's a cat and mouse game between these teams and these players, because especially when the situation doesn't work, because it's always, he did it or he did it. Like, it's always finger pointing. It's never, nobody's ever really honest about exactly what happened. It's just like, let me just paint myself in the light so that I'm not the one that's quote unquote wrong. So that's why I think that that's what that's not Tampa Bay, I'm sorry, but the Arizona Cardinals are doing. They're pretty much saying, we're going to put it out there before it even gets to the point of, just in case this doesn't work. Look, you see what we said. You see what he agreed to. So if it doesn't go the way that it's supposed to go, something in the contract wasn't met. You know what I'm saying? So I just feel like that. I feel like that's a situation that they are trying to pretty much have insurance on Kyler Murray.
Mm-hmm. And it's just like, who is keeping track of, like, how much film he's watching a week? Does he have a babysitter?
Yeah.
Does he have a babysitter? Do they have like some type of technology that keeps track of where his eyes are when he's in front of the television, or what he's streaming on the other? Like, I don't understand. I don't understand why this had to come out. It's just weird to me. I know a lot of conversation is going to be buzzing around Kyler Murray's dedication to the team and dedication to his craft. And it's just like, we just want to see the man play football. But I mean, at the end of the day, training camp is underway and the season's going to be among us soon. So we're going to actually be able to see whether or not this 4 hours that is mandatory for him is going to really push him over the edge and improve his game. And maybe he'll win a playoff game. But my reaction to his contract was just like, he hasn't even won a playoff game. You're giving him all this money? Like, I know that he took the situation with Deshaun Watson and what the Cleveland Browns provided in that contract, and he took that to Arizona. He slapped it down on the table, and he said, listen, this man has 24 accusations of this, that, and the third of sexual misconduct, and he got this amount of money. I've been putting my blood, sweat, and tears and lack of film study in this locker room on the line, and you guys don't want to give me an extension. So
It's fired.
it's I don't know. We'll see. I'm really skeptical about the Arizona Cardinals going into next season, starting with DeAndre Hopkins and his injury, and they lost a lot of offensive line talent as well. So I think Kyler Murray is going to be continuing to run for his life, but at least he's got money to fix his problems when he gets home.
Hey, well, you know. I mean, because I hear what you're saying, but at the same time, while he slapped that off on the table, he could have been like, well, I mean, you want to talk about playoffs? What Deshaun wants to do in the playoffs? He blew quite a few leads, my boy. So what are we talking? What are we talking about? You want to talk about playoffs? Playoffs? You want to talk about playoffs? Like, let's come on now. What's Arizona's other option? Who you gonna go get?
Jimmy Garoppolo? No? Okay, never mind. I just had to throw that out there. Which is another hot topic.
Jimmy played for his life last season, okay? Don't disrespect the man like that, you know?
And the 49ers still said, you know what?
That's another thing that's blowing up in the news, ladies. Let's cover it while we're on the topic of the NFL right now. The 49ers have come out to say that they are ready to move on from Jimmy Garoppolo, with them telling him a few months, it's got to be like a month or so, that they already told him that he was okay to seek out trades. So they're moving on to Trey Lance, who I am very skeptical about doing. Do you think the 49ers are making the right move by saying that Trey Lance, they're moving on from Jimmy, and that Trey Lance is their guy? I mean, they did move up in the draft to get him 3rd overall. So do you think that they're just trying to, I guess, not make themselves look like fools? What do you think, Jay?
They're like, you know what? I mean, we knew that they were going to move on from Jimmy, like, as the playoffs are going and Jimmy's playing for his life. And maybe, like you said, they don't want to look like fools. They're like, all right, we really do need to let Jimmy go. Trey Lance is our guy. We need to 100% support him. So, hey, Jimmy, get your trade while you can. I guess they want to see if life can be, breathed into this 49ers team. And I mean, I'm not like, if I'm them, I mean, I know there was all this, but I'm like, he literally played for his life in the playoffs and got you guys this far. I mean, do we give him another chance? Do we say, come on? But they're like, no, we do not. You can leave. You can trade. I just hope Trey Lance is the second coming that they think he is, and they have made a good decision by moving up in the draft and getting him. And I hope he does what they want him to do. I don't know, rookie quarterbacks, you know what I mean? But I guess they're like, hey, they were willing to bet the farm on him. So we'll see. Jimmy G, off to wherever you go. Jimmy G, you still cute though. Jimmy G. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens this season.
So Jimmy G is going to be
cuter now.
Yeah, Jimmy G is going to be recovering from, was it shoulder surgery? He had surgery in the offseason, which was something he needed to do to clean up something for him to be able to have an impactful next season. Do you think that's hurting his chances of being traded to the team that he wants to be traded to? What do you think, Sensei?
The thing with Jimmy G is, I think that the 49ers have been done with Jimmy G for quite some time, especially and then I think they're more so like trying to put the pedal to the metal even more so now after Deebo Samuel came out and said that he was unhappy with the 49ers. Because I think they would much rather lose Jimmy G than Deebo Samuel, because there was a lot of games where he single-handedly won them those games. So I think that, and plus you don't move up that far in the draft to draft a guy if you don't plan on playing him. So it's like, it's one of those situations where it's like, you kind of put yourself in a position where you have to play a Trey Lance. Like, you can't let him just sit there on the sidelines because, like I said, you didn't draft him that high to not play him.
But look what the Green Bay Packers are doing. They moved up to go get Jordan Love, which was a slap to the face of Aaron Rodgers, and we have not seen Jordan Love start for the Green Bay Packers. Only when Aaron was out, and it was a crapshoot. Just saying.
Yeah, right. But Jimmy G is not Aaron Rodgers. Like, granted, he did beat him, but at the end of the day, when you look at it, Jimmy G ain't no Aaron Rodgers, so he can't flex his muscle that same way. Like, the reason why they're not playing Jordan Love is because Aaron Rodgers was pretty much like, look, you're going to either have to trade me or I'm taking y'all for everything that y'all got. And obviously they went with option B, and that's why Jordan Love is on the bench. And Aaron Rodgers is still the starting quarterback. But Jimmy G don't have that kind of power. So he can't go into the 49ers front office and be like, look, these are your only two options. Because what have you done? Granted, Aaron Rodgers won a Super Bowl 10 plus years ago, but still, he has a Super Bowl. So he has the resume to be like, look, what were you doing? Jimmy G don't got that. So it's entirely different. It's two different, completely different scenarios. But if I'm Jimmy G, I wish the coach would have got him. Honestly, like, I'm a coach fan. I wouldn't be mad at Jimmy G, but obviously we wouldn't got Matt Ryan. But you know what I'm saying? I don't know what would be good, what would be a good fit for him. But honestly, you know what? Actually, I do. I thought
who's the quarterback in Atlanta right now?
I don't know. Good question. But I think Jimmy G would be good in Tennessee. I think him in Tennessee might be interesting. Me personally.
I had to look it up. Oh, they went and got Marcus Mariota. I forgot. From Tennessee.
Yeah.
He played for Tennessee last season.
They did.
So, yeah, I think, what about Seattle? I think Seattle would be a good landing spot for Jimmy G. I mean, you would still stay on the West Coast. You would stay in the same division, right? Yeah, you would stay in the same division, switching over to Seattle. I mean, if the 49ers are moving on for Trey Lance, I think Seattle or Atlanta would be a good landing spot for Jimmy G. But I think him having surgery in the offseason has definitely put a halt on his I guess his foot in the door when it comes to choosing what team he wants to be traded to. But I just wish all good things for Jimmy G, because I think he's a good quarterback, and I think he could lead a franchise to a
porn star Jimmy.
Porn star Jimmy.
That's what they call him.
Ladies, are there any more hot topics that we haven't covered tonight before we say goodbye to our audience?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Is Lamar Jackson going to be the next quarterback to get an extension? And why haven't the Baltimore Ravens paid the man?
I think that's a good one. I think I don't know. That's a good one. Well, I think
they paid him.
I feel like he has to. Because he was hurt for majority of last year. So, but yeah, I don't know. That's a good one. Maybe they're trying to wait and see, like, kind of give him a prove it deal kind of situation.
Yeah, I think that's what's going on too.
Yeah,
kind of like we got to see more from you, Lamar. We haven't seen enough. But I mean, I think Baltimore would be foolish to let Lamar Jackson sign with another team. That's all I'm saying.
For sure, because he's going to be a stone in their side if that's the case. I feel like it could get real ugly for him, but also you got to think of it like this too. If they do decide to do that, I think that they would be putting themselves in a rebuilding stage, because you already lost Hollywood Brown. You would be losing Lamar Jackson. What else do you really have? You would have to pretty much reconstruct your whole roster at that point. Like, you would have to start from the ground up at that point. So it's like, you kind of have to decide, like, is that something that we really want to do? Because a rebuild is a good 2 to 3 year process. So it's like, do we sacrifice win now, maybe bring some talent in for Lamar Jackson and see how we can just take this thing as far as we can go? Or do we say F it and do a rebuild? So, you know what I'm saying? I don't know. It kind of depends.
All right. Well, in other news, when it comes to football, the XFL has announced that they are bringing the team back. The Orlando Apollos here in Florida.
Yes,
they also have a plethora of teams around the United States. So watch out for the XFL. It's going to be launching next year. That will be a great
San Antonio, guys.
Yeah.
San Antonio is getting a team.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And shout out, while we're mentioning that, shout out to our good sis, Carolina T. She was actually going to be covering that team. So shout out to a Sports Sensei alumni doing big things down there in the San Antonio area. That's big. Shout out, sis, for sure.
We got to have her back on the show soon, too.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, I got to hit her up and get her back on the show. She's good people.
Yeah, for sure. All right, ladies, make sure to tune in to the Commissioner's Cup tonight at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time, as the Chicago Sky are going to be hosting the Las Vegas Aces, which are two heavy hitter teams in the WNBA. So they will be bringing some impactful football tonight. So basketball tonight. So make sure to tune in for the Commissioner's Cup. That is all for me. Do you guys have any final thoughts before we say goodbye?
No, ma'am. No ham, no turkey.
All right. Well, if you guys get an opportunity to tune into my radio show, is Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 11:50 a.m. HD, 102.1 FM. If you're not in the Tampa area, you could travel to the AM 1150 WTMP.com or download the app. But yeah, that's all for me. You guys have a great night, and thank you for joining me on another segment of the Sports Senseis. We will see you guys next Tuesday for sure. We will not go that long without speaking.
No, we won't. We'll be back. Bye.
Bye.